All right, back again. All praises to Yahweh Shema Shai, and double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone. All right. Um, so as I was saying before, or getting into this video, this clip here, going into this ant colony, you know, uh, which you can see as you see the structure of this ant colony. When you get into these ant colonies, man, they're very vast and complex. And it's just it's amazing. you know. Um, but with all that being said, again, just another glimpse, because something like this, what we see, just with a simple ant colony, and again, how vast and depth, and it's just crazy. It's amazing. Because certain of these, I actually got another clip here. And that's why the scriptures say, the fool says in his heart there is no power. Because to think that something like this isn't of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, to think that the earth, well, everything was brought into existence off of some so-called Big Bang. You just got to be out your mind, man. And from there, all these living organisms came about. It's just amazing. But because what this reminds me of, because it's just amazing. You have certain animals, spiders, like I just played this clip here, birds, believe it or not, certain species of birds that live underwater, and you would think, how the hell? But hey, Yahweh Shema Shai, So just looking at things like this, just imagine what brothers are going to be able to do. Being able to have these palaces in the waters, in the oceans, whether it be for a vacation spot or whatever the case may be, because going back to the ant colony, like I was saying, again, dealing with the ant colony, man, and how an ant colony, man, is so vast and complex. If these things could be done with such small, simple creatures, just imagine again the vastness and complexity when it comes to brothers. The galaxies that we're getting ready to inherit, Lord willing. If these things could be accomplished on Earth, again with insects, bugs, what appears to be the impossible, just imagine what brothers are going to be able to accomplish, and just imagine. So with all this being said, man, again, this is just a glimpse into a kingdom. Like I said, certain species of insects, birds that live underwater, and being able to build these type of habitations, with what may appears to be out of the ordinary, but Yahweh Shema Shai, man, the scriptures talk about how we but seen but a spark when it comes to Yahweh Shema Shai and his vastness and his complexity, man. Just again, there's a lot to look forward to. A lot to look forward to, man. I was gonna play this earlier. As it says, how fast clams can clean dirty water over 2 hours. And as you see on the right side, the clams doing their work, doing what they were created to do. And this is why, going back to what I was saying earlier in the first part about, the curse that's devouring the earth. Esau destroying the waters, the ecosystem. You know, everything is just out of whack. Everything is just jacked up, you know, and it's only until the Israelites get set back up in power, you know, well, like the scriptures say, even the trees are going to rejoice, because, you know, Esau, he's known as a feller, you know, that feller being someone that cuts down trees, you know, just destroying the ecosystem. You know, here it is. You got animals, whales, beaching themselves and things of that nature, you know, because, again, the earth is sick. All right. The inhabitants in the earth and the earth itself, everything is sick. Everything is decrepit. Everything's dying. Everything's being destroyed. And that's why, like the scriptures say, in due time, the Lord is going to set up one that is profitable, starting with Yahushua first and foremost, and those elect, you know. So I got this here because, as I was saying earlier, you know, as far as our kingdom and how it's going to be built up, you know, and brothers are getting ready to get the best of the best. As I read that account in Ecclesiastes 2, you know, King Solomon, and he had the best of the best, man. You know, but going back to that dominion, that rulership, that power that we're going to have over the nations. Well, what are they going to be doing? Because it's not like they're just going to be sitting around being idle, getting their ass whooped all day. So check this out.
Worm produces the world's most luxurious fabric. To raise them, farmers exclusively feed them with mulberry leaves. And when the worm wants to go through metamorphosis, it spins a protective cocoon around itself. Inside the cocoon, the pupa matures into an adult moth. But if the pupa hatches, it breaks the cocoon thread's integrity. So farmers unalive them by boiling or steaming the cocoons. And then in processing, each cocoon yields about 3,000 feet of silk thread. These silkworms are the sole producers of commercial silk. This worm produces...
So this is where you get silk farming, you know? So, in not so many words, hey, brothers are going to get the best garments, man, you know, pure 100% silk and so on and so forth. And not only that, I got this other cool clip here. Check this out.
As he crushed the lapis lazuli, it would soon transform into something worth more than diamonds. Not because of the rock itself, but because of what was hidden inside. As after being crushed into a fine powder, it was then sifted to help separate the vibrant blue fragments from the rest of the stone, which would soon become something that the elites used for centuries. Because it was then mixed with beeswax, which not only hardened it into a clay, but it would help separate the blue dust even more. As after it was rolled into big balls, they were boiled in water. And as the wax melted, it pulled the impurities with it to the surface, leaving only the pure blue pigment beneath. And once the water was filtered out, this left ultramarine powder, which was used for luxury clothing and art, as it was the world's most expensive dye for ages. As he crushed the lapis lazuli, it would soon...
So you see that, man? So again, this is why the heathens are going to be around, all right? You know, brothers are going to have their farm set up, their factory set up, and, you know, like I said, hey, because brothers aren't going to have to lift a finger, you know, in the kingdom. When the kingdom comes, this is why we're going to have the heathens. All right. You know, making our garments. Like I said, hey, brothers are going to get the best of the best, you know, but that's going to come by way of the heathens. Hey, you know, putting them to work. You know, so just imagine this. Like I said, man, with all the stones that are going to be harvested, you know, and just man, brothers are going to be decked out. You know, brothers are going to be decked out. Isaiah 60. Starting at 3, and the Gentiles shall come to thy light, and the kings to the brightness of thy rising. So you see, man, like I said, brothers aren't going to have to lift a finger. Like I said earlier, man, I get tired of, you know, I shouldn't have to be light my own incense, and you know, that's why the heathens are going to be there. You know, brothers are going to have their heathens, their handmaids, and things of that nature. You know, playing the harps, you know, right there at your bedside. You know, you know, it's just, man. It's easy to get lost. You know, lost in the thought of, you know. But it says, lift up thine eyes round about and see. All they gather themselves together, they come to thee. Thy sons shall come from far, and thy daughters shall be nursed at thy side. So you see, man. It says, then thou shalt see and flow together, and thine heart shall fear and be enlarged. And this is in the new bodies, you know. this being in the new bodies. So imagine that. Because it's going to be, well, it says, because the abundance of the sea shall be converted unto thee. The forces of the Gentiles shall come unto thee. The multitude of camels shall cover thee. The dromedaries of Midian and Ephah, all they from Sheba shall come, and they shall bring gold and incense, and they shall show forth the praises of Yahweh Shem Shai. All the flocks of Kedar shall be gathered together unto thee. The rams of Nebayathoth shall minister unto thee. Like I said, man, waking up, imagine that, It's not like brothers gonna, be tired, or, for whatever the case may be. Just to say that brothers gonna be, wake up for being tired. No, because brothers gonna be able to just sleep just because brothers don't get, we're gonna be able to experience life, life for real. Brothers are gonna be able to live for real, It's like even in the kingdom, we're gonna eat the best foods, but it's not like we're gonna have to, But nevertheless, hey, the Lord created these things for us for these things to be enjoyed. So it's not like brothers are going to be eating because they have to, because they're hungry or whatever the case may be, But again, as kings, why not? And again, you're going to have those right there in your bedside, with your slippers ready, right? Your ready to put on, put your robe on, right? Whatever the case may be, however it plays out to brothers' likings, It says, they shall come up with acceptance of mine altar, and I will glorify the house of my glory. So, jumping down to verse 10, and the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls, and their kings shall minister unto thee. For in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor have I had mercy on thee. So you see, man, hey, Yahweh Shem Shai, he's about to far overdo it for his people, to the point, hey, the nations, man, they're going to see that glory. You're going to have some of those that are actually able to, be in the palaces, and they're going to be able to go back home and tell their kingsmen, oh man, yeah, I got to, because on this side, people think that it's an honor to work for someone like a Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, But imagine that conversation when these nations, after a day's work, and they go back to their kinsmen, they go back home or whatever the case may be, man, and they're telling their stories. Yeah, man, I was around one of the elect. I was able to, So imagine that. But again, it says, and the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls, and their kings shall minister unto thee. For in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor have I had mercy on thee. So, again, man, brothers are going to be decked out. They're going to have the best of the best, the finest of the finest. All right. This is, therefore thy gate shall be open continually, like it just said in Revelation 22. They shall not be shut day nor night, that men bring forth unto thee the forces of the Gentiles, and that their kings may be brought. So you see, man, there it is again, man. All right. The glory that is getting ready to be bestowed and established, again, starting with Yahweh Shai and those elect, in Israel in general. All Israel is going to be on a level. All Israel is going to be straight. All Israel is going to be beautified, man. Beautiful. But it ain't going to be nowhere near the glory. That's coming to starting with Yahweh Shai first and foremost in those elect, man. So, hey, get ready, man. Because, brothers talks, we talk amongst each other, man, just as far as, because, brothers have every creative imaginations, and, our mind only goes but so far. Our imagination only goes but so far. That's why, again, the Lord, he's just going to have to perform it. He's just going to have to do it. Man, the Lord's really going to woo his people, man. Brothers, I believe, are going to stay in a state of awe, like amazement, like, damn, So with that being said, this is one of my favorite clips on the internet, man. Just, just peace, man, and calmness, just being able to fly throughout the galaxies, man, is just, man, you can have your chariot with you, whether you be in the chariot or have the chariot following you, because, it's like Avatar, what they show on Avatar, the movie, the Avatar, where basically how they were in tune, in sync with the, they get in tune, they get in sync with the creatures, they sync up, lock in. That's how it's going to be with the brothers in the chariots, So just imagine that, just peacefully, just flying through, coasting, just at peace, that perfect peace that's getting ready to be bestowed unto brothers, man. Israel in all, but man, for brothers, man, it's just going to be different. The glory is going to be different. It's just going to be different, man. Isaiah chapter 4. Isaiah 4 and 5. And the Lord will create upon every dwelling place of Mount Zion and upon the assemblies a cloud and smoke by day and the shining of a flaming fire by night. For upon all the glory shall be a defense. And there shall be a tabernacle for a shadow in the daytime, for the heat, and for a place of refuge, and for a covert from storm and from rain. So, hey, man, brothers are going to have chariots, just hovering over the crib, the palaces. Hey, and it's really going to be a flex, man, because it's not like brothers are going to need anything. But again, it's all a part of that glory that's getting ready to be bestowed unto us. Just having those chairs, the chairs decked out, smelling some type of way. I think that's another thing I think about too, when it comes to Yasharahla's chariot. What's that chariot going to smell like when the elect get beamed up? What's that chariot going to smell like? How beautiful is it going to be? Just all the things that we think about, just pertaining to the kingdom and what's to come. Because like the scriptures say, our mind is on the things pertaining to the heavens. And it's often difficult coming back here to reality, but hey, this is a part of what keeps our hope alive, man. Knowing what's coming, when this destruction is when it's said and done, and the establishing of the kingdom, and when the elect come off that chariot, that new Jerusalem, as I read in Revelation, and that's that city, the new Jerusalem coming down from heaven, when the elect getting come off those chariots, and it's the establishing of the kingdom, man, and from there it's going to be everlasting joy and peace, so just imagine that, man. All this is just a glimpse of what's to come, peace and tranquility, everlasting joy. We got a lot to look forward to. Like I said, man, we have a rich legacy. All right. And Yahweh Shema Shai. Yeah, he promised the destruction, judgments, and things of that nature, but he also promised the goodly things. And, that's what we ought to look forward to, the goodly things, and they're coming. That's why we just, again, where we are constantly reminded throughout the scriptures to hold on, because it's coming, and again, as far as what we've got coming for us on the other side is going to far outdo this little season of suffering, man. So, we just got to hold on just a little longer. And before we know it, we're going to be in the kingdom looking back, man. We ain't even going to be looking back, man. We're just going to be in the kingdom, because there ain't going to be no PTSD, no post-trauma. Like, damn, dog, I was in Babylon. Nah, man. It's going to be like one bad dream pursuing to Psalm 26, man. 126, But before we know it, man, we're going to be with the Lord, man. And, just at peace, perfect peace, Yahweh Shema Shai's peace, So hopefully this is uplifting, giving all praises to Yahweh Shema Shai, Shalom to you, hopefully elect.